With boss first day in the office. I was thrilled and enthusiastic as I made my way to my first day of work at a reputable company in a bustling city. My heart raced as I entered the sleek office building, and I could feel the excitement in the air. I had heard rumors that my new boss had problems controlling his temper. I was making my way to the reception area when I came across a man who was standing close to the glass windows and was deeply engaged in conversation on his phone. Something about his authoritative demeanor and well-put-together appearance drew my attention. It was none other than the man himself, Mr. Van Kirk. I took a moment to compose myself before walking over to him and introducing myself with a reassuring grin. "Hello, Mr. Van Kirk. I'm Anna, and I'll be working as your new assistant." Mr. Van Kirk took a momentary break from his conversation to look up, and his piercing blue eyes met mine. I couldn't help but feel an instant pull as if I recognized his spirit from a great distance, and I couldn't help but be drawn to him. Mr. Van Kirk instructed her, "Only come to me when I call you." My grin vanished almost as quickly as it appeared when I encountered Mr. Van Kirk's icy and unwelcoming glare. I was at a loss for what to do because I had not been prepared for the manner in which my new boss interacted with me on the first day of my new job. He barely acknowledged my presence and merely pointed to a desk that was located in the corner of the room. He commanded in a harsh tone, "Sit there, and get to work," and his tone was devoid of any warmth or words of encouragement. My initial excitement was dimmed by his icy demeanor, which caused my heart to sink. Throughout the course of the day, Mr. Van Kirk continued his impolite and condescending demeanor toward me. It appeared as though he was uninterested in either my queries or my concerns, and his harsh remarks caused me to doubt my skills. I had a difficult time comprehending why my boss, who enjoyed such a prestigious status in the community, treated me with such hatred. I was unable to ignore the odd feelings of desire that I had toward him. It was the sense of mystery and complexity that surrounded him that piqued my interest in him. I had the impression that there was more to him, something that was concealed beneath the layers of his stoic facade. I pushed myself to work for the better part of the day, working harder than necessary and going the extra mile to fulfill his requirements. I discovered that I was lured to the challenge to earn his favor, despite the fact that he consistently rejected me and was cold to me. I worked up the guts in the afternoon to confront Mr. Van Kirk about his behavior, which I felt was inappropriate. As I approached his office, my tone was calm, but anyone could hear the strength in my voice. "Mr. Van Kirk, is it possible for me to speak with you for a moment?" As a result of Mr. Van Kirk's surprise at my boldness, he only grudgingly nodded and gestured for me to go ahead and enter. I drew a long breath before revealing my thoughts and emotions to him in a straightforward manner. I revealed how his treatment had harmed my confidence and motivation, but at the same time, I felt a tremendous draw towards him despite the fact that he was cruel to me, and how I truly mixed my demotivation with my attraction to him. Mr. Van Kirk twisted his brows thoughtfully and asked, "What can I do if you are having a pull towards me? It seems to be all your problem. In terms of your motivation, if you had done the work as you were supposed to, I would not have been nasty to you, and you would not have been demotivated by the way I acted towards you." I then asked while keeping my eyes closed, "So you think that all of the mistakes have been done from my side? You have absolutely nothing to do with any of this." Mr. Van Kirk squared his shoulders and replied, "Yes." Despite the fact that my fury was boiling, I couldn't help but fall for him. However, I soon saw that this wasn't a favorable sign, so I chose to remain silent and quietly leave his room. After about half an hour, Mr. Van Kirk asked me to come into his room because he wanted to give me some files to work on it. So I went in there, but he was nowhere to be found. I waited for a few seconds, then I turned around to leave, but he was standing very close to me that I bumped into his chest. And when I looked up to apologize, my mind went blank. He waited for a few seconds and asked, "Are you planning to stay this close forever?" I asked him how someone could be so cruel, but he simply ignored my question and handed me some files instead. I took them and returned to my seat, and despite the fact that I had moved farther away from him, I was still experiencing goosebumps. After that, I refrained from entering his room for the rest of the day and instead focused my attention on my work to the point where I lost track of time. When I looked up, almost the entire staff had left, and only a few people were still there, so I hastily packed everything up and rushed to his room. As I was returning all of the files to him, his hands rubbed against mine, and I once more felt fire spreading through my body. This time, I made the conscious decision to exit his room before he could make any harsh remarks. When I was getting ready to turn around, he pulled me towards him and said, "I was avoiding you all day because I didn't want to do that," and then his lips crashed on mine, and then one thing led to another, and we consummated the evening to the maximum extent possible at his desk. After that, I stood up, gathered my clothes that were scattered across the room, and dressed myself. When I exited his room and came into contact with sunshine, my eyes watered and I immediately realized that we had spent the entire night together without exchanging a single word. I walked up to my desk, where I typed out my letter of resignation. I smiled to myself as I grabbed my things, sent the message, and then exited the building with a nice expression on my face. As soon as I went back to my house, I turned on my laptop to start looking for other career prospects, but all of a sudden, I got a response to my resignation that said it would not be accepted and that I would have to finish out my probationary time first.